English today, and even during Tolkien's own time, is one of the most popular and most spoken languages in the world. Back then, its position was held through a large number of native speakers in Britain's former colonies, which made up a comparatively big part of the total world population. Nowadays, the number of people elsewhere in the world has grown and lessened the numerical dominance of native English speakers, but instead, English has become the lingua franca of the world, the international language, and the second language of most people. Whereas most people see the existence of a neutral, commonly understood language as a good thing, there were some concerns on the part of Tolkien that he openly talked about, as well as some that we may discover by going through his letters. In essence, Tolkien was very concerned with the rise of globalism following the Second World War, and the dominance of American culture and cosmopolitanism that resulted from its victory. In letter 53, written to his son Christopher in 1943, even before the end of the war, Tolkien ponders what the spread of Americanisms will mean for the rest of the world, and how dreadful it would be if American-led globalism rendered every part of the globe essentially the same. As part of his argument, after he criticizes the spread of quote-unquote American sanitation, moral pep, feminism, and mass production throughout the world, he goes on to focus on the matter of language, and his beloved English specifically. There will be nowhere to go, so people will, I opine, go all the faster. Colonel Knox says 1/8 of the world's population speaks English, and that is the biggest language group. If true, damn shame, say I. May the curse of Babel strike all their tongues till they can only say Baba. It would mean much the same. I think I shall have to refuse to speak anything but Old Mercian. Just so you have the entire context, Tolkien was known for using exaggerated speech and sarcasm to talk about things he was concerned about. What this means is that we have to balance his words with the intent we believe that he had. In this case, it becomes a lot easier, as in the very next paragraph of the letter he says, "But seriously, I do find this Americo-cosmopolitanism very terrifying. Poor mind and spirit, and neglecting the piddling affairs of timid flesh, which does not want to be shot or chopped by brutal and licentious soldiery, German or other. I am not really sure that its victory is going to be so much better for the world as a whole and in the long run than the victory of..." I don't suppose letters in are censored, but if they are or not, I need to you hardly add that them's the sentiments of a good many folk, and no indication of lack of patriotism. For I love England, not Great Britain, and certainly not the British Commonwealth. The "but seriously" further solidifies that he was speaking sarcastically, without this meaning, however, that the heart of the matter was not a concern for him, or that it wasn't important. He makes sure to clarify that this Americo-cosmopolitanism was indeed terrifying, and while the curse of Babel mention may sound extreme, the fact that he disliked the massive popularity of English was very clear. And in my opinion, it also makes perfect sense for someone with his beliefs. As a linguist and a professor of English, but also a lover of countless foreign languages and cultures, Tolkien knew the important role that languages play in the culture, thought process, and uniqueness of every single country in the world. English spreading rapidly by the Americans alongside American culture made him fear that, inevitably, the uniqueness of the world will be gone. America and its culture, its movies, its music, and its politics, as well as its importance, especially in the West, will affect every single level of life, everywhere, without exception. English played a massive part in that, and American culture necessitated English gaining the traction that it did, especially in the post-war period, as a consistently taught second language in schools. And then, in these countries, how many of you have experienced the pursuit of an English certification while you were at school? Usually either Michigan or Cambridge, and how important was that portrayed for any future professional endeavor? Another contributing factor that we can see with some certainty are Tolkien's own political beliefs. Throughout his letters, he has denounced the existence of the British Empire, British Commonwealth, and even the United Kingdom and Great Britain itself. Instead, if it was up to him, Great Britain, the island, would be made up of independent states, and his beloved England would just be England. In letter 100, he denounces British and American imperialism, while in 52, he supports the creation of an unconstitutional monarchy and the abolition of central government control in England. The point is that he seems to have favored a localist form of government politically, which goes hand in hand with his localist views in terms of culture and his stance against the global cultural integration that used the English language as its tool. Lastly, some theories I have that are based solely on my own personal experience with Tolkien's attitude on linguistics is that the spread of English to such a large scale may also mean its alteration and distancing from England itself. With its increasing popularity and people from different backgrounds speaking it, new vocabulary or ways of talking may be added to the language and then made popular as well, to the detriment of the English spoken in the language's mother country. Perhaps to a more extreme extent, what if these new additions to the language, or what could be perceived as improper English by some, made their way to England itself and fundamentally altered the language there too? Whether that be from the spread of American English, for example, or something else entirely. I do not have a specific letter from Tolkien regarding English specifically on this matter, but I do think the professor would have been concerned with how his beloved language was affected, considering he was very concerned about every single other foreign thing making its way to England. Finally, his reference to Babel was particularly interesting, not just due to its linguistic connotations, but also the religious context behind it. A linguistically unified humanity attempted to build a tower to reach the heavens and God himself, and for that, it was cursed. In the 20th century, humanity again was beginning to mess with power it should never have possessed, and Tolkien himself was particularly concerned about the dangers of atomic power and weapons of mass destruction specifically. On the 9th of August, 1945, the very day that the Fat Man was dropped on the city of Nagasaki, Tolkien writes, "The news today about atomic bombs is so horrifying, one is stunned. The utter folly of these lunatic physicists to consent to do such work for war purposes, calmly plotting the destruction of the world. Such explosives in men's hands, while their moral and intellectual status is declining, is about as useful as giving out firearms to all inmates of a jail, and then saying that you hope this will ensure peace. But one thing may arise of it, I suppose, if the write-ups are not overheated. Japan ought to cave in. Well, we're in God's hands, but he does not look kindly on Babel builders." There you have yet another reference to Babel, with the biblical tower representing something that humanity is forbidden to do, and for which it was punished by God himself. Considering how religious Tolkien was, I doubt these mentions were random and not part of a more coherent thought process. English turning into humanity's language before the New Babel may not be something he was literally concerned about, but it certainly wasn't something he loved to see, and he was even more certainly concerned about what evil humanity could pursue if we all spoke the same language. A massive thank you to my channel members, and thank you very much for watching.